Hey everybody, Ian Campbell here with Mission Suite. Today I'm breaking all the rules of photography that I've been told and shooting from below. But unfortunately my phone is acting up, and so I'm stuck here on my iPad, and the way that it fits, it's all coming, coming at me from below. So hopefully this doesn't throw too much of a loop or make me look too awkward or what have you. But anyway, hope you're all having a good Thursday. Unfortunately I missed Tuesday's video. Life gets in the way, kind of a deal, and so but I wanted to join you here again today. And today, actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about a conversation that I had on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I got together with for a meeting with a young guy who is just getting started in sales and just getting started in selling and and actually selling marketing services. And he had some questions about networking. And so as I was kind of going through my conversation with him and thinking about what I was gonna talk about today, I decided I was going through some of my blog articles, and the business networking post popped up in the list, and I'm like, oh, perfect! I can talk a little bit about some of the things that I told him and some of the advice that I gave him on Tuesday morning, and you can hopefully this will kind of benefit you as well, and you'll be able to use some of this to work on your own networking skills. But the question that he had was, really kind of boiled down to, first of all, where am I meeting people? And second of all, who should I be meeting with? And so I'm a firm believer that you should be meeting with anybody, right? So that if you have the time, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there are certain people that just don't have time to meet with everybody that requests a meeting with them, but it certainly can be valuable to do so. And even if they're not a good client for you, or even if they're not a great networking partner, referral partner for you, there's still a lot of value that you can pull out of each networking meeting that you take, even if it seems to be a bust. So that's kind of what I was relaying to him the other day, and so that's kind of what I figured I'd talk a little bit about today. So what I told him, what I walked him through, was how I approach a networking meeting. So of course, and so that's kind of where I'm going to go step by step through how I handle a networking meeting, and how I've been able to develop a pretty substantial network pretty quickly in the different cities that and the new cities that I go into, so that I can kind of really start to work on building out business. So here's what I told him. This is kind of basic. This is my basic formula for a networking meeting. So number one, of course, you do all the, oh, hey, great to see you. How's everything going? How was the weekend? What are you doing this weekend? How's the wife? How's the kids? That kind of stuff. All the kind of the heartwarming, make you feel comfortable type of stuff that you have to get through in order to get to the crux of the meeting. But then I always I try to make sure anyway, that I'm the first one to ask about their business, to ask about your business. So you and I are meeting, and I always try to make sure that I'm the one to say, so tell me about you, tell me about your business, and because I want to learn more. And so because what that does is it obviously gets them talking first. And because at the end of the day, I know what I do, right? I know that I'm going to have the opportunity to tell this person what I do, and I know that I'm not trying to close anybody on new business in a first networking meeting, anything like that. I'm trying to develop a relationship, and the only way to do that and to uncover potential need is to get you talking first. So I'm going to ask you first. Try to always be first. Tell me about your business. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about what brings you here to this point today, right? So that's step one. So first of all, kind of get into that. And then during that part of the conversation, I'm going to try to uncover three things. Number one, I'm going to find out what you do, who you work with, right? So I'm going to say, okay, so, I'm going to find, because I want to know, just as far as a networking conversation is concerned, I want to know if you can be a good referral partner for me. The only way that I can do that, the only way I can figure that out, is if I can find out what conversations you're having, right? If you're having similar conversations to me, and maybe you're a marketing person, you're having conversations that relate to kind of data storage and inbound lead generation and things like that, then those are great people for me. So I want to know. Obviously, I know what your business is, just kind of in a very cursory overview, but I want to know a bit deeper. Who you're talking to, what kind of conversations you're having, what sort of specifics. I can talk to 3 web developers, and they can all have 3 very very different conversations with people, and if it doesn't fit with the conversations that I'm having, then they could be a good referral source, but probably not a great high value power partner, right? And I tend to, just as a quick aside, I tend to kind of look at my network in 3 rings, right? So there's the bullseye, there's the people that are having the exact same conversations with the exact same people, but offering complementary services to mine and not competitive services. There's the middle ring, wherein there are people having the either similar conversation. There people are having somewhat similar conversations, but they're talking to the same people that I want to be talking to. And then finally, there's the kind of outer ring, wherein you're basically going to be you're talking to kind of a very general overview. Just and you're not necessarily having the same conversations as I am. You're not talking to the same people as I am. You may end up as a good referral source or passing me some referrals from time to time, but it's not necessarily likely. So anyway, so that's kind of now back to the conversation. Again, I want to know if you're in that bullseye, right? I want to know if you what conversations you're having and who you're talking to. So who the ideal target persona, role, whatever you want to call it, is in that company. Number 2, I want to find out who else you're networking with, who else is passing you leads. Right? I want to find out if you're also networking with marketing consultants. I want to find out if you're also networking with sales trainers or sales coaches, because that tells me that you can be a great referral source for me. And because even if you're not necessarily going to send me my next client, you may introduce me to the person that's going to introduce me to my next 10. Right. So those are the 2 kind of big things that I like to focus on as far as kind of the who you are and what you do. Because again, I want to know. I'm assuming that I actually, have gotten to know you, and that we like each other, and all those types of things. I want to make sure that there's value here. Excuse me, that there's value to be had there, and so I make sure that those are some of the conversations that I'm having. And then of course, I go in. So this is what I do, right? And through that part of the initial conversation, I'm going to find out just through some of the questions that I ask if they're a good potential client for me. And I have a bit of a unique scenario because of what we do, and because of the automated networking follow-up sequences that we build into all of our new client accounts. Anybody that I meet networking could be a good referral source, or could be a good client of mine, right? So they could be, small clients sometimes, but they could still be a client of mine. So, I'm in a bit of a different scenario. Most people, you've got to kind of dig a little bit deeper, find out if they could actually be a potential client. If they are, great. So start having those conversations, and then, which kind of brings me to the next step, is I'm going to start tailoring my conversation and talking about what I do and how I do it and why I'm different, all those different types of things. I'm going to start tailoring those points that I'm making to the people to the person that I'm talking to, right? It's sales 101. Of course, you're not going to be actually saying, oh, well, selling them on this or selling them on that. The goal is not to make a sale. The goal is to actually, the goal is to focus in on who you're talking to and tell them how, first of all, they can make a referral for you, or how they could use you themselves, right? In my world, I like to focus in and find out, because I can work with just about anybody who's networking is a great client of mine. So I'll always say, listen, I'm just going to tell you how this would work for you, so you can get a feel for what it'll do, get a feel for what it does, and then, and how it helps, and then you can kind of take it from there, right? I'm not trying to sell you, but I'm going to use the term you because this is going to make more sense to you. So those are the first 2 steps, right? So I'm always the first to ask, tell me about you. Tell me about your business, because I want to shut up. The person in sales 101, right? The person who does the least amount of talking wins, right? They're the ones that get the deal. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you talk. Number 2, I'm going to give you kind of a quick overview of what I do, and kind of tell you a little bit about how it could work for you, and tell you a little bit about how it can work for some of your clients and some of your referral partners rather. And then finally, my last part of that conversation is there's always an ask there, right? And in sales, more often than not, we're trained to say, oh, well, can you use my services? Wrong question, because that's not why you're there. You're not there to sell something. If they ask you, let them buy, of course, but or let them let them ask you about the next step. But your job right then and there is not to find out if they're interested in moving on to the next step. Your job is to find out who else they might know that could be a good referral for you. That's your job is to find out what other networking events they're going to, because if they're networking with the people that you want to be networking with, if you found out during that second part of the conversation, hey, who's sending you great referrals, if they're the same people that you want to be networking with, then you want to find out where they're networking so that you can get there too. And then, of course, number 3, just ask for industries. Be industry specific. Hey, what lawyers do you know? I'm trying to get into manufacturing. Do you know any manufacturing companies? Do you know anybody who works for manufacturing companies? Can you make an introduction? Right? So make sure that when you're having these networking one-on-one meetings, don't try to sell people, right? Because you will lose every time. Well, maybe not every time, but you'll lose more often than not. It's not worth it. Sell them on trying to help you. Because remember, the idea is know, like, trust, refer, right? After a first meeting, they hardly know you well enough to know if they like you, let alone trust you, right? But they're not going to start referring you business until they trust you. And you may have the social proof for all that trust and all that good stuff, and you may be able to convince them of that, but do it later. Don't do it then, right? Make sure that the ask that you're making is purely networking and can be mutually beneficial, right? So offer up more than you take. Right? Offer introductions. Offer talk about people that that could be good referral partners for you. Like, offer that value, because it's going to make them want to do more. So always finish up with an ask, but make sure that it's the right ask. Don't finish with a sales ask, whatever you do, because it's not the right time. Anyway, that's that. I hope that you all had. I hope that you're having a great week and that you got some value out of this. I will link to that business networking article that I referenced earlier. It's kind of a 101 kind of a guide, but so I'll link to that in the comments here. And then if you anything else that you think I should be talking about, definitely let me know. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday. Cheers.